Hey everyone, it's Stella Marin, and this is the weekly affirmation for November the 4th through the 10th. So I know that I've been skipping around weeks when it comes to the affirmations, and as many of you know, but some of you do not know, I haven't made my formal announcement yet, but I am moving to New Orleans this week. So I've been through a time of transition and change right now, and so I've had a lot going on and I have not been keeping up with things. So I'm going to focus this week's affirmation on change, but also I'm going to make the announcement of this month's theme, even though my newsletter hasn't gone out yet. It's going to go out this afternoon. But this month's theme for November is gratitude, which seems pretty obvious if you live in the United States or a place that celebrates Thanksgiving during the month of November. So I want to take this month's theme of gratitude and what's been going on with my life and my business and combine them. So gratitude and change. So this week's affirmation is, I am grateful for change. Now, a lot of times when we think of change, we have a pretty black and white perspective on it. We either view the change as something good or we view the change as something bad. So if something happens to us, and we're the ones who get to determine whether something's good or bad. So say it's a relationship ending or a move. Some people might say, this is great. I'm glad this relationship is over. I wanted to move, so I'm glad that I found a new house. And then there's some people who don't want those things to change. They don't want the relationship to be over. They don't want to move to a new job or a new state or a new home. And when you have that perspective, it can be difficult to see the positives when you're only thinking about how it's something that you don't want, or how it makes you uncomfortable. So it's important to be grateful regardless of how you feel about the change, because that change is happening for a reason, or whatever is showing up in your life is happening for a reason. There have been times in my life where things have happened where I've been like, how did I end up here? How is this my life? How is this a situation I'm dealing with? Sometimes I've been in situations where it's felt like I'm regressing or I'm going backwards in life, and I'm like, shouldn't I be moving forward? Why did I take this step back? And for each of these experiences in my life where I felt like the change was a negative thing, down the road, I've been able to look back in hindsight and realize what the positives were or how that event helped shape my life. There's even been a situation where, a situation I was confused about where I'm like, how am I here? Why, I was really unhappy. I felt stuck. I wasn't sure why that was my situation. And when I look back on it, honestly, I realized that I was in that situation because I was keeping myself in that situation. So sometimes when things happen to us or change happens that we're not comfortable with, we're not happy with, or we weren't expecting, sometimes it's because we're keeping ourselves in that situation. Maybe there's something that we need to see that we need to be doing differently. Maybe it's even just our belief system. So, there's a time where I had moved back home and it seemed like I was there for one reason, it seemed like I was there to take care of my dad, but then I also realized I had a lot of belief systems that were holding me back. I kept telling myself I couldn't move. I kept telling myself I couldn't leave. I told myself it was my responsibility to be there. I told myself I couldn't afford to not be there. And I kept replaying these stories in my head, and I was the one keeping myself stuck until I finally got to a point where I didn't want to be stuck anymore. And when I made the change and when I moved out, it seemed so simple. And I was like, why didn't I do this years ago? So sometimes if you're unhappy with a certain change or situation, it's good to look and see if you could have the power to do something about it. So But it's so important to be grateful. So I'm grateful that I learned that lesson. Maybe it took me longer than I wanted to learn that lesson, but once I moved forward, I haven't gone back to that thinking. So I'm aware of how I can keep myself stuck and how my beliefs can hold me back. So I'm grateful that that's a lesson that I learned. So it's important to be grateful for change, especially if you think it's negative. We tend to only be grateful for things that we're excited about. So if something good happens to us, and when I say good, it's whatever your perspective is. But I really want to explore finding things to be grateful for that we're not used to looking for. So especially, like I said, with change, being grateful for change. So with my move coming up, this is a big change for me. I'm going halfway across the country. And while this is a change that I initiated and I chose for myself, and it's a change that I want, it doesn't mean that it's not scary, because it's very scary. I have no idea what's going to happen. The future is a complete unknown to me. So I have to just trust and rely on myself that I'm capable of making it however I want it to be. So, even with the fear that's there, it's like, I'm grateful that I feel this fear and I'm going to do it anyway. So despite the anxiety, despite the stress, despite the nervousness that I have, I'm grateful that I'm still moving forward with it, that I'm facing my fear. It doesn't mean the fear has to go away, because it's not going to go away. It just means that I have to move forward. And so I'm grateful that I can face my fears. I'm grateful that I have this courage inside of me. So whatever it is, if there are changes coming into your life or changes that you're avoiding as well. So oftentimes we avoid making change in our life because we're comfortable, we're used to what's familiar. We don't want to, sometimes we don't change because we don't want to affect those around us. Sometimes we worry that if we make changes that are good for ourselves, that it's not going to be good for others, and that is not the case. So even if there's a change that hasn't happened yet, if there's a change that you want to make but you're scared or you don't think you're capable, tune into that and find what you can be grateful for. So let's say you really can't stand your job. You really want to get out of your job. But you're scared. You're scared that maybe you're not going to find another one. You're scared that you're not going to get the job security that you currently have. You're scared that if you take time to transition between jobs, you won't be able to keep up with your bills. Whatever it is that's keeping you scared, find what you could be grateful for in that change. So I'm going to go a little step farther and talk about like manifesting. So if you're dreaming of, making this change where you want to get a new job, just focus on what it could be like. Focus on all the positive outcomes that could happen and all these potential possibilities, and be grateful for that instead of thinking about everything that could go wrong. Especially in relationships. I have been guilty of hanging on to relationships in the past that are no longer serving me out of fear. Out of thinking I'm not going to do better than this, or I don't want to be single and have to start over because that seems scary. Whatever all these fears were that were keeping me from making a change, I allowed them to hold myself back. But if you think about all the possibilities, the things that could be better, and then focus on being grateful for that. So you could think, well, I'm scared to leave my job, but I'll be so much happier. And focus on feeling gratitude for what hasn't come yet. Feel grateful that you're not stressed anymore because you don't have to wake up every morning going to a job that you hate. You're grateful because your anxiety has reduced because you're not going someplace you hate. You're grateful because your new job allows you creative freedom to express yourself and your ideas. You're grateful because your job provides you with more time to do what you want. And even though these aren't things that have happened yet or are guarantees, if you focus on what you want and being thankful for the good things that can come from change, it will allow you to open up and start taking steps towards making that change, if that makes sense. So if you become grateful for change that hasn't happened yet, and you're living in that excitement, you're going to want that feeling. And so you're going to start doing things to make sure that you're really getting that feeling in real life and not just in your mind. So you're going to start showing up to work and like, yeah, you already hated it to begin with, but now that you've put it in your mind that things could be so much better at a different job, and you're getting excited about how much better and how great change could be, then you're going to start to want to make the change because you're already allowing yourself to feel how good it could be. So that's an example for change that you're afraid to make. Like I said before, changes that have happened to you you're not comfortable with. All right, so you don't like where you're at right now. That's okay. That's fine. A lot of us don't like where we're at right now. But you can't just go from, I don't like it, I want it to be better, and it's just going to be better while you're not liking it. You know, there's a whole in between there. So, you know, you might know from personal experience that it doesn't just work that way. You can't just sit there and say, I hate this situation, I don't want it, and then you wake up the next morning, it's like, oh, well, because I complained about it and said I didn't want it, and now it's different. It just doesn't work that way. So if you are experiencing change that you don't like, sit down and see why it's happening and what you can be grateful for. Maybe it's trying to show you that you're in that situation because of your own limiting beliefs, your own negative thoughts, and your own self-sabotaging behavior. That's been the case with me many, many times in life, where I end up in a situation that I don't like and I throw a fit about it and I cry and complain. I'm like, why is this happening to me? I didn't ask for this. But maybe I really did. You know, there's a lot of times where the actions that I took and my behaviors and my thoughts are exactly what ended me up in particular situations. And so my lesson in those situations was to be grateful that I can change things, that I have the power to change things. So I'm grateful that I became aware of my power, and I'm grateful that I chose to use it to get myself out of certain situations. But there's, you know, and maybe also, so maybe change is happening that is really good for you and you can't see that it's good for you. So you just need to take time to find the good things in it. Find every little thing you can to be grateful for, regardless of what it is. Maybe you recently went through a big transformation and now things are changing in your life. You're in the process of changing who you are, who you want to be, where you're going in life. So really what this is all about is less about the change and more about remaining in gratitude. Finding things to be grateful for that we wouldn't normally think to be grateful for because we may not see them in a positive way. So be grateful for change even if you don't want it or don't feel comfortable with it, because life has to change. It just has to. So at some point in your life, something has changed that you have probably wanted. So say you're in a relationship you're not happy with, but you're scared of the repercussions of changing that relationship. Well, think about the last time something changed. So prior to you being in this relationship, there was a change that happened where you went from where you were to being in this relationship. And at the time you wanted that change. That was a change you invited in and you were happy about it. So, you know, change is always happening. I think sometimes we act like we've never experienced change before. Like we get so comfortable in the way things are and not wanting to change that we forget that we've experienced change hundreds and hundreds of times and we've been fine. We've survived up to this point. So why not keep doing it? but we forget what we're capable of. So yeah, I just really encourage you to find gratitude in all things. Find gratitude in life's changes. Find gratitude in moving forward, becoming a new person, changing thought habits, beliefs, changing your environment, changing the people you spend your time with. Find gratitude in the change. Be thankful that life is not stagnant. Be thankful that the seasons change. Be thankful that things die and are reborn again. We can find gratitude in everything, and life and nature is in constant change, constant flux, and we are all a part of it. And there's no sense in being resistant to it. And the easiest way to come out of resistance to anything is through gratitude. So again, the affirmation for us to repeat for this week is, I am grateful for change, or I find gratitude in change. So yeah, I really encourage you this month and this week to focus on gratitude. You know, we're also, as far as change goes, we're ending one calendar year, and not only are we beginning a new calendar year, we're beginning a whole new decade. So change is happening whether it's present in your personal life right now or not. Change is still happening on a large scale. Here in the United States, we have a major election coming up next year. So change is happening all around us, and it's important to just remain grateful. All right, so stay tuned to my YouTube. I'm going to get a tapping session posted for inviting in gratitude. I also have some gratitude affirmations that are going to get posted. It's going out in the newsletter. And yeah, just stay posted in general for updates. Another big announcement is I'm not taking any coaching or energy healing sessions or clients for the rest of the month of November, and actually for the rest of 2020. So stay tuned for all the new change.